Welcome to Conversations with CSG, the global talent podcast from CSG Talent. We interview influential figures across a wide range of innovative and impactful industry sectors worldwide, discussing career journeys, overcoming challenge, achieving success, diversity, and much more. I'm sure you'll see value in a lot of the topics we cover. So here it is. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Conversations with CSG. Today we're joined by Brooke Exley. Brooke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Looking back on your career, you've spent the majority of it working within the data center industry. What initially drew you to work within data centers, and what makes it such an exciting sector to work within?
Yeah, I kind of happened upon data centers through my network a little bit by accident. Right out of university, I was working for a commercial construction company, and they were feeling some hard times after kind of the real estate bubble. This was 2011, 2012, and so they unfortunately had to downsize that business. But my VP of HR at the time, I grew a great relationship with her, and she really looked out for me and knew of an opportunity to join at the time what was called DuPont Fabros Technology. I was interviewed for that role and was able to get the job, and that's kind of what threw me into data centers. So at the time, I was grateful to have a job, obviously, but little did I know it would turn into what it has for me today. And what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of data center companies have, at their core, they're a commercial real estate company. DuPont Fabros Technology, Digital Realty, Netrality Data Centers, they are all at their core commercial real estate companies. And so kind of having that general understanding as a core is an amazing framework, and that industry is one that I am personally passionate about. My mom is in both my parents are in real estate in their own fashions, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. What data centers have become today and what made them exciting to me in the first place was, once I learned more about them, was just truly what they empower for the general public, right? You know what? Here at Neutrality, one of the lines I like to say to my candidates is, when I'm in an interview with someone, is you truly cannot call the fire department without one of our buildings being up and running. And so just kind of that true core enablement of what we're able to offer, that's kind of what gets me up in the morning. While some might see, maybe some downsides to data centers, there are all kinds of essential necessities that we rely upon them for in this day and age, and I'm very proud to help empower that.
No, great. Yeah. And I guess, as you mentioned, really being within data centers then for, let's say, 14, 15 years in that environment and moving into somewhere like Digital Realty, which are one of the biggest global data center developers and operators. How was the transition from Digital Realty into a smaller, earlier phase of growth business like Netrality? And also, I guess, how much the data center industry has changed since then to now?
Yeah, so just kind of going back to that first data center company of mine, DuPont Fabros Technology, they at the time, 2007, 2008, when they were going through their IPO, they were kind of the pioneers of the hyperscale data center industry. They had one of the first large campus environments in Northern Virginia. And so it was really, really interesting to learn about the hyperscale industry. And that company at that time was not big at all. When I joined that company, it was about 90 employees. So a very, very similar size to Neutrality when I started here 6 years ago, of that small entrepreneurial environment where every person is truly a core piece of the puzzle, and what you're working on each day, you're able to have your name on that and really own your work and you're part of the process. That really is another big driver for me is that opportunity to be creative. Now, when DuPont Fabros continued to grow, we obviously became very sought after for potential sale, and that did indeed happen. When we got to a critical growth point, we were purchased by Digital Realty in 2017, and then they took over the operations of all of our buildings, and I helped to see that transition through, both, with the sale aspect and then also with the transition from an operational standpoint, financial standpoint of moving one business into another. And so it was very, very interesting to your point, very, very different organizations, a lot of change. One thing I like to say in my role, often people think of HR and they think of maybe one or two things throughout the year, such as benefits. But really, what I do at the core of my job is I help manage change, whatever the change may be, whether it be big or small, whether it be a new role being at a company, right? That's a change, whether it be bringing someone on new to a team, that's a change. So when Digital bought DuPont Fabros, and we merged those companies, that was a big change for some of my operational folks, and I worked hand in hand with the HR team at Digital, became part of that team for a little while, and saw that transition through. And was it different? Yes, but as change brings different things, but not necessarily bad things. With that, it brought a whole bunch of opportunity for a lot of folks at my former company to continue to grow their careers in the industry. And so that really enabled me to know hyperscale in a very intimate way, being at those two companies. And when the opportunity came across my desk to join Netrality, I am very fortunate to be able to add the retail and colocation side of a critical element of the data center industry to my repertoire. So yeah, all very different, but all the companies have a very entrepreneurial feel. Even large organizations like Digital, I know that they value that entrepreneurial spirit as well.
Yeah, great. You've mentioned there a vast amount of experience within the HR and people function, a successful and people-focused leader. For others in similar positions, how do you ensure you deliver an effective people strategy which results in positive employee engagement and a high-performing work environment?
Yeah, so we've evolved a lot here at Neutrality. We've grown a lot. Our PE backers, Macquarie Asset Management, have been a huge supporter of that growth. When I joined the company, we were in a huge growth phase, and we've nearly doubled in size since that time from a headcount standpoint. The way that I've been able to be successful with that is just kind of meeting every individual where they are. Everyone has different priorities, different goals, different outcomes they're looking to achieve in their day. And if you kind of truly honor that open door policy, which I really work to champion very hard with my team, not only with my team, but with each manager as well at Neutrality. I think when you truly are able to have that open door policy, have that open dialogue and dynamic, you're able to find what makes each person tick and kind of work towards that goal with them, and then everybody wins. And so we do that through listening to our employees. We do surveys. We do have, just again, open dialogue. Everybody knows where to find, not only their manager, but also my team. And we really do listen. We can't do everything. We can't say yes to everything. But if there's something that somebody wants and there's a good business reason for it, then part of my job is to make sure that it works for the business and to help make that thing happen. So if it's beneficial, the beauty of working at a small company is, if something's beneficial to just a few people, even, I do try to work hard to make that happen because those few people very much matter in the neutrality puzzle.
Yeah, and of course, from my experience with you guys, I've always noticed a very high retention rate within neutrality themselves. So, of course, that's very reflective of you as a business, and of course, all the work that you do as well behind the scenes to keep everybody happy, and the growth within the company as well is also there to see.
Yeah, and one more thing on that, Dan, one thing that I'm very proud to say is and share about with our candidates is it's just the leading by example that happens here at Neutrality. I say that everyone is a doer, from the technician to the CEO, and I've never had a more involved or harder working C-suite than I've experienced at this company, and just really leading by example from the top is truly what happens here. It makes me want to work hard and bring my best every day.
Yeah, wow, of course, and it's definitely there to see from an outsider looking in, I must say. So given that, obviously the data center industry, it is highly competitive and it's in a constant state of growth, but it does present challenges. So what would you say some of the biggest challenges are faced within the data center industry right now for you guys?
Yeah, Well, there's macro and micro for this one, really. At the macro level, for the broader data center industry, there's some of the things I wouldn't call them challenges. I would call them more just opportunities, right? How can we evolve and continue to evolve? I think one of the big changes that we're managing right now is it's just kind of this broadcasting into the spotlight of data centers in general over the last 24 to 36 months. Way more people are learning what a data center is now than ever before. The same conversation I was having 5, 10 years ago with a candidate where no one even knew what a data center was or the importance of it. People are now knowing and publicly realizing the criticality of these data centers because of the AI boom and because of our reliance on the internet in general. And so with that come several opportunities, right? People are more curious about it than ever. Hey, how do I get into this new thriving industry and start my career here? There's a lot of opportunity there. People are very hyper aware of the environmental factors, right? You're potentially in somebody's backyard. Thankfully, Netrality is not. We are in the center of cities, and we do our very best to have minimal disruption to the city streets around us. But I know that tends to be a challenge on the hyperscale side of things, and so some of those things are definitely being noticed. But again, the energy use, another major challenge, right? Where are we getting this energy from? Thankfully, because of Neutrality's unique business model, we have established power lines already within our buildings. They're very historic in nature. They have a lot of power already existing coming into them that we're able to provide to our customers in a readily available way. So that's something that we have an advantage on right now in a way, and that we're going to continue to leverage to help drive customers to our space. But as far as some other challenges, gosh, I could go on all day with this one, Dan. But another challenge kind of goes back to that: where do I fit into this from a career standpoint? There is a talent gap with existing data center experience. Sometimes when you're a small company like ours, we really, really like it when you have previous data center experience, depending on the role. And I would say that might be one of our, depending on the role, we've been able to really leverage the opportunity to take transferable skills, train you, and help you start your career in the data center industry. But then there's other roles that might be higher up where we really do need you to have that experience. And I would say that it is very competitive to fill those roles sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you from my experience in headhunting talent at that executive leadership level. It's almost a critical need to understand the data center environment and being involved in decision making and really having that true understanding. So somebody that's maybe from a transferable sort of division, maybe utilities focused or high power voltage that's going to move into a sort of executive data center level role. I must say I find that very tough compared to what you mentioned. If somebody could come in that has maybe similar sorts of experience and talent in mission critical construction, operations, engineering, I think it's much more viable to be able to train them in-house and really help them build a career
For
within your company like Neutrality.
For sure, yeah. And it's to your point, there are thankfully, many transferable industries, solar energy, renewables. There are a lot of congruencies there. And then just the commercial real estate industry too, right? Industrial. I find a lot of transferable opportunities there as well.
Yeah. So in terms of people operations and talent teams, what are some of the greatest challenges when it comes to talent attraction and retention? I guess we touched on that slightly, but what does Neutrality do to overcome them? Obviously, we touched on in-house training, but is there anything else that you guys really look for or look to do?
Yeah, I think, you have to really target some of those core kind of the table stake aspects of employment, being an employer in general, very proactively. So having competitive benefit offerings, that's something that we have completely transformed here at Neutrality to really offer some pretty competitive benefits. Having that good medical provider, having a competitive 401k program and match. These are all things that, at the base level, every company needs to be very proactively analyzing and making sure they're meeting the needs of their current population. Same with just with compensation in general, making sure that you are doing market diligence of what is competitive. The exciting thing and interesting thing about the data center industry is you're now seeing data centers pop up all over the place in cities where they might not have historically been necessarily. And companies like us, we have to move very proactively and pay competitively with that anticipation that, other companies might be moving in nearby and making sure that they are happy and excited to stay at Netrality. And sometimes it takes getting creative. I have an employee, I call it the best problem. They are thriving in their role. They are hungry for growth. What can we do to keep that person interested and engaged? We might need them to keep doing their role. There might not necessarily be like every growth opportunity position wise, but are there certifications we can help get them to support them doing their job in a better, more efficient way, and to keep them engaged? Yes, that person, we're going to help them get their project manager certification so that they can continue to do a better job and help apply some of the things they learned to their broader team. Smaller opportunities like that are very meaningful to that individual, we very much pursue here at Netrality to help retain our top talent.
Yeah, that's great. I think, what you mentioned there with certifications and stuff, I think that's a great idea. I think now more than ever, we're seeing talent move around a lot more than they used to, given the investment and, like you said, projects popping up everywhere. It tends to be the sort of same talent pool, so everyone is getting pulled from company to company and project to project. No, I think that's a really sort of innovative way to keep talent on board and really keep them laser focused on neutrality. That's great.
Yeah, and one more point, even just small touch points. It sounds silly, but in a 24/7 industry, we realized a gap on our third shift, for example. You have folks that are in your buildings 24/7 and you have someone there at 2 in the morning. It might not be that exciting or engaging. We saw that as an opportunity to get a biweekly call to get twice a week call together for those who are on that third shift across our sites, which are geodiverse, for them to come together and connect and almost have a team meeting from their different sites to connect and talk about what they're working on that night. I really have that team environment, even when they're on just one or two folks at a site by themselves, so that they don't feel alone. Little aspects like that do go a long way.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And not something I've heard before from speaking with candidates from other data center developers and operators. So that's great. So obviously with neutrality, you do have a unique approach when it comes to data centers and co-location. Do you want to tell me a bit about what makes neutrality stand out from others within the industry?
Yeah, so neutrality is definitely unique. I like to say that every data center is important, but none of those data centers can even really function without neutrality in their markets, because we offer the most highly connected buildings fiber optically within the markets in which we do business. So we have the most carrier connectivity in our buildings, which enable all of the data centers and ultimately the end users, whether it be a business or an individual, to communicate to each other. Think of any particular city or environment as a spider web, right? All of these fiber lines going across our cities and our world, but they all have to have a point of connectivity where they interconnect and work together, and that is the neutrality building in the markets where we operate. So that is the core of our business is that meet me room. We've been able to build out data halls in both a retail and wholesale offering to offer our customers storage and power right at that connectivity point, getting their most pertinent data right to the end user from the quickest place possible. Again, it's important to have multiple levels of redundancy, whether that be in our building or with a hyperscale provider, but having your data in our building does get it to where it needs to go the quickest way possible. And each of our buildings do run on I like to call it a three-legged stool. We have our property management teams, we have our facilities engineering teams, and then we have our data center operations teams. And they're on site 24/7 to support our customers around the world, some of whom have never even stepped into our buildings. We're able to support all of this from a completely remote standpoint if needed.
Great. Thank you for the insight there. So D&I is a topic of huge importance for those working within the people function. Talk us through yours and Netrality's approach to creating both an inclusive and diverse culture where all demographics are able to thrive?
Yeah, so I would say that Neutrality, we pride ourselves on truly hiring on the basis of merit and the best candidate for that role. That is truly who we're going to hire. Now, we do have an equal opportunity interview process. We also partner with a whole lot of organizations in the communities in which we do business that really help enable that next generation of workforce, whether it be through local community colleges or local high schools. We've been able to offer internship opportunities to help those learn about the data center career path and the goal of them, obviously, hopefully joining our workforce. That's our hope for that. Now, we've also been able to, as we've grown, create some very defined career paths for different individuals. We have a 3-tiered program for both our data center technicians and our facilities engineers. You can be a tech or engineer 1, 2, or 3, and then that leads into a management opportunity, following that level 3. So opportunities like that are really, really great for those looking to thrive in these careers. And just some of the things, some of the programs that I've been, discussing throughout really do make us a very individualized culture and one where, if somebody's passionate about something or wants to grow in a different direction in their career, we have that conversation and we do what we can to enable that.
Oh, great. That's really good to know that insight. I could see it as well, like I've mentioned, from the outside looking in. If I go on any employee really within Neutrality, you can see that no one there, if they've been there a number of years, has just been in one role. It's clear to see the transition that they make and the growth within Neutrality. So yeah, it's really, really good to hear and see that as an outsider looking in.
That's great to hear.
So I guess to close things off, Brooke, this is something that we always ask our podcast guests. What would you say the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received throughout your career is?
I guess never be afraid to ask. Never be afraid to put yourself out there and ask that question or ask that curiosity. At a minimum, it gets a conversation going. But nobody's a mind reader, and it's very, very important to talk about whatever is on your mind so that everybody can get on the same page. It sounds simple, but it's one of those things that applies to really every aspect of your life. And so if you're thinking about it, if it means that much to you, it's important to talk about it either with your people ops team or with your manager. If you're looking to grow or if you have a suggestion for how to better your workplace or your job, talk about it, put it out there, be an innovator in whatever environment you're in. And the way to do that is by just speaking up and getting the idea out there. The worst that happens is somebody says no and then at that point I say, great, we'll talk about it again in 2 months. So
Yeah, I agree. I think there's never such thing as a stupid question, really. But yeah, if you're curious and want to learn, there's never any harm in asking questions.
And it's all a two-way street. Everyone is a human being at the end of the day. I think those that are rising in their career, it's important to, it's good to idolize people and good to have those you look up to. But at the end of the day, that person is just another human and and wants to be treated with respect and is hopefully open to dialogue too. So if you have an idea, regardless of your role in a company, say it, bring it up, and that could be your ticket to growth.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Thank you very much for all your answers and joining us today, Brooke. It's been great to hear about yourself and Neutrality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Shameless plug here at the end. We do have a lot of opportunities to join Neutrality. Dan and Henry at CSG have been wonderful to work with for many roles over the years. But as always, please don't hesitate to reach out to them if you're interested in a role with us or check out our website, netrality.com/careers.
Perfect. Thanks, Brooke.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for thinking of me. It's always fun to talk about.
Fab. Thank you so much, Brooke. That was Conversations with CSG. I'm sure many professionals will relate and see value in the insights shared. Stay tuned for further insights from industry-leading professionals on our podcast, Conversations with CSG. Thanks for listening.